Hi everyone, so I thought I would just do a really quick video just as a kind of reminder as to why we need contracts. Now, my background is obviously commercial litigation, and essentially what this means is I resolve disputes for people. And so often I see these things haven't been done, and they could very easily have avoided the conflict that the client is currently in if they'd just taken these 4 steps. So I'm going to go through those 4 steps with you and hope that it helps you to avoid a conflict in future. Now, obviously I'm doing myself out of work here, but let's face it, we would rather avoid a conflict than have to deal with it retrospectively, right? So my first tip is have an agreement. It's so easy to just rely on an oral agreement with a client, oh yeah, we're both on the same page, let's get on with this. But the problem with that is, and that agreement is just as valid as a written agreement, but the problem is it's what you can prove in a court of law if you ever fall out. And it's obviously easy to prove what's written on a piece of paper than it is what was said between 2 people 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And ultimately, a judge is going to find his job so much easier if it's all written down and both parties have signed it. Which then brings me on to my second point, is make sure you read an agreement before you sign it. This is vital. The amount of people that come to me and say, oh yeah, but I didn't really read it, and I wouldn't have agreed to that had I read it. I'm sorry to say, tough. You signed it, therefore the assumption is you read it and you're agreeing to those terms. So make sure you read the agreement. If you don't want to read it, find a solicitor who will do it for you, who will advise you on the salient points of it. Vitally important. Thirdly, sign the agreement. It's so important to sign these things, because if you don't sign them, then there's no proof that you're obligated to comply with it. Equally, get the other person to sign it, because if they haven't signed it, they're under no obligations either. Again, this argument can be had in court. Oh, well, their conduct suggested that they were agreeing to the terms. Yes, that's possible, but so much easier if you just had a signed agreement in the first place. And then finally, monitor your agreements. Check them periodically. Do an annual audit of your agreements, just to make sure that you're still happy with the terms that you're signed up to, that actually maybe the relationship has changed and the agreement doesn't no longer reflects the arrangement that you've got with the client. So then you will want to revisit the contract. So I hope that helps. So just in summary, have an agreement, read the agreement, sign the agreement, and review your agreements periodically. Those 4 steps could potentially avoid you having to get involved in heavy, expensive, long-winded litigation, and could very much easily avoid a conflict in future. So I hope that helps. And if you've got any questions, just reach out and ask.